For best banking preparations in specialist officer segment and lateral entry segment, join our full crash course. This is kept only at rupees 999 and will provide full study material and complete support. Should I go ahead for the class? Is it audible to all of you? Is it audible now? Kindly confirm audibility. We'll start the class. Yes, Nagarjan, welcome to the class. Okay. Yes, Anil. Okay, this is credit management, class 2, exposure norms, lending rate and other regulations, and this is going to help risk people in terms of exposure norms. We will discuss large exposure norm, which is a key component of credit risk management, and this large exposure norm is led by Basel norms, okay, and subsequently implemented by Reserve Bank of India. Okay, then it is important for both credit and risk people. We will have our first class on risk management on Sunday. Okay, RRB school, scale to banking enough for April to September, which yes, it is enough from April to September. If you have enough time, then you can go ahead from January to March. Okay, but there is no need. Okay, let's start the class. Have all of you joined? Have all of you joined? Should I go ahead now? Should I go ahead now? Okay, I think most of us have joined. Okay, Nitin. Yes. Yes, Akhilesh. So let's start the class. Yes. So exposure norms. What is exposure norm? Banks generally set an exposure credit limit for each counterparty to which it has credit exposure. So why exposure norm is important? To manage the risk, to avoid concentration to somebody or to some individual or to some group. Okay, so I think you may be knowing the concentration risk. What is concentration risk? Putting all eggs into one basket is called concentration. Okay, so that is a risk that is especially measured in capital markets, that is especially measured in banking industry. So it is advised not to keep all your eggs into one basket. That means not to invest in one portfolio or not to invest in one specific sector or in a specific stock. Similarly, banks are advised to limit their exposures, to diversify their exposures, or to diversify their investment. If suddenly some sector, some group of people don't perform, or this type of assets slip to NPA, the profitability of the bank is not dragged drastically. Are you getting it? So the exposure norm is especially one of them. So I think you all be knowing that is Basel Committee for Banking Supervision, BCBS, is especially formed to manage the banking risks. Okay, to deal with banking fallouts in challenging times. So they have limited the exposure norms, then given an avenue to the banks to diversify their credit exposure to various borrowers. Are you getting it? No audio. How join audio? I think you are having Manish. You only having the issue here. All others are getting it. Is my audible? Is it audible to all of you or not? Kindly confirm. Is it audible to all of you? Kindly confirm. So are you getting it? Banks generally set an exposure limit for each counterparty. Counterparty means to the other party to whom the banks have their exposures. Okay, with whom banks enter into an agreement or enter into a deal. Okay, so depending upon the assessment of the borrower, commercial as well as retail, a credit exposure limit is decided for the customer. However, within the framework of a total credit limit for the individual divisions and for the company as a whole. As a first step to address the concentration risk, the Reserve Bank of India in March in 1989 fixed the limits of banks' exposure to individual business concern and to business concerns of a group. So it is in India for the first time launched in the year 1989. Okay, so this is all about concentration risk. Exposure norms is all about concentration risk. So now let's see what are the RBI guidelines or Basel guidelines regarding the exposure norms. So here comes large exposure framework. This is a framework that is recently launched by Reserve Bank of India in 2019. Okay, so all the large exposures of banks now should be tracked, should be reported to Reserve Bank of India, and it should be limited. RBI's prudential exposure norms have evolved since 1989, and the bank's exposure to a single borrower and a group of borrowers was restricted to 15% and 40% for the capital funds respectively. So earlier, this is not the latest guidelines. This was there and this has been developed since 89, and banks were restricted to fund more than 15% of their tier 1 capital to any single individual or any single entity, single company or corporate borrower. Okay, and maximum 40% to a group of borrower. It was there in earlier days. Now it has been revised. We will go to it. What is the revised norm for large exposure framework? In the year 1991, the Basel Committee of Banking Supervision, BCBS, issued supervisory guidance on large exposures. Okay, I have again time and again informed you that these years are not mandatory, but to have a basic idea of the chronological developments, whatever happened in banking industry, you should have a knowledge when and where it all has developed. But for MCQ point of view, these are not mandatory. Even in interviews, it is not expected that you may be remembering all the dates. Okay, but you should have a clear idea, a chronological idea of events that has took place in certain banking in banking scenarios, certain banking developments. Okay, are you getting it? So I am only mentioning the verified and authentic facts. Okay, so this whatever I am mentioning here are important for your for basic understandings of various sectors. Even in risk management, you in interviews you may be asked about what is large exposure framework, how it is essential in managing credit risk or concentration risks, etc. Okay, I think you may be knowing that in Basel there are 3 risks that is important, that has to be managed effectively by bank, or without, if there is a certain fallout in managing these 3 risks, then banks may be heavily penalized or banks will face certain existential crisis, that is credit risk, market risk and operational risk. Okay, so further, the core principles of effective banking supervision, which is known as Core Principle 19, published by BCBS 2006 and again revised in the year 2012, prescribed that local laws and bank regulations set prudent limits on large exposures to single borrowers or closely related group of borrowers. So what I wanted to tell you here is that RBI has set the prudential norms of exposure limits, but on whose direction RBI has set this? On the directions of Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, RBI has done it. Why there is a guidelines for Basel? Why there was a guidelines implemented by BCBS, floated by BCBS? This is to strengthen the banking framework. Okay, to strengthen the overall framework of resilient banking structure. I think you will be knowing that the norms, the conditions of Basel III. If you are not aware of Basel III, don't worry, we have already taken a class in our earlier batch in SBI CBO. We will again take it, so don't worry about it. If you have free time, you can check it out in my YouTube page as well. Okay, so you will be getting it, and soon I will have this this app being launched. Once this app will be launched, every course, every single subject will be provided in a particular window. Okay, if you go to SBI, I will upload all the videos that is there. There will be unlisted videos that will be not available to all others in YouTube in public, that will be only available on the app. And there you can find, you will go to a certain page that is professional knowledge for SBI CBO. Once you click on the folder, you will find all the study materials, all the PDFs of each subject, and all the videos related to it. So one by one we will put it in a serial by manner, and it will be totally free of cost for all of those who have already joined us and those who will be joining us also. Okay, so nothing to worry. Before your exam only I will float it, so that even if you miss a class or even if you miss a PDF, because I'm providing you now in your WhatsApp, so next it will be available for whole of your lifetime in the app. Okay, let's move to the scope of application of LEF. So I think you now having a sense why this large exposure framework is required. Okay, without a proper large exposure frameworks, banks will fail. Yes, all of them will be told to you. Don't worry, now you gain professional knowledge. Once the CBO thing is cleared, I will be informing you. I will be taking classes. Don't worry about that. I have in my I have I have all the scheduled classes in my mind, and I will be working hard to make you qualify there. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I think on as of now you will be knowing why this large exposure framework is required. Without a particular large exposure frameworks, banks will fail. The main reasons of few banks were failing in last few years, especially that is in cooperative banking sector, like the fail of PMC Bank and other cooperative banks. This is due to a proper exposure norm available for cooperative banks. As you may be knowing that before this amendment of 2020 regarding banking regulation amendment, which for the first time kept cooperative banks under a Reserve Bank of India's strict supervision. Before that, there were some ambiguity in terms of the regulations of cooperative banks. Thus, there was a inavailability of a proper exposure norms for these cooperative banks. So they were having their directors linked with various corporates, and they were providing an enormous of loans to one individual or to one entity. So that ultimately the failure of that institution led to the failure of PMC. Are you getting it? The failure of one individual or one entity has led to fail of a bank, and failing of a bank is a contagious one. Once a single bank is failed, interconnected banks will also be failed, and the people's trust on entire banking system will vanish, and people will not start keeping money in banks. Okay. So how if one bank fails, others will fail? Can you please explain? Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think you all be knowing that there are interbank exposures, interbank lending practices are there, and banks have exposures to various instruments floated by other banks as well. So if one bank fail, the other will definitely fail, and it will have a contagious effect. People, there will be a run on other banks. Those who have the other banks, those who are affected by those who get the effect of those who feel the effect of failure of one bank, then the others will have a run on the other bank. So it is like this. There are interbank lendings going on. I think you will be knowing it. So there are interbank lending markets as well. So banks have exposure to other banks as well. Okay, even a failure of a certain non-banking financial company could lead to failure of other institutions, other financial institutions. Okay. So a bank shall comply with LAF norms at two levels: consolidated group level and solo level. Okay, if, the application of the LEF at the consolidated level implies that a bank must consider exposures of all the banking group entities, overseas operations through branches and subsidiaries. So the bank has to implement these large exposure norms in two levels. First, in solo level, that means it is applicable for the bank, and it is also applicable for the bank's subsidiaries, bank's overseas operations, etc. Are you getting it? This large exposure framework not only applicable to the bank, it is applicable to the bank's subsidiaries as well. I think you may be knowing that nowadays banks are floating many non-banking financial company as their subsidiaries. Okay, so this exposure norm is applicable to the subsidiaries as well. Okay, are you getting it? Are you clear up to this? So there are certain exemptions provided to large exposure frameworks. That is, the exposures that are exempted from the LEF are listed below. Exposures to the Government of India, state governments, RBI, which are eligible for 0% risk weight under Basel III. I think you will be knowing it that there are RWAs, risk weighted assets. Every asset is linked with its risk. So those assets, those instruments which are treated as zero risk, they are not to be considered in terms of large exposures. Okay, exposures where principal and interest are fully guaranteed by Government of India. I think you may be knowing that there are credit guarantee trust, those who guarantee any loan extended by the bank. So there it is not applicable. Intraday, interbank exposures or intra-group exposures. If bank has provided any loan to its own subsidiaries or to its own group of companies, then it is also not applicable. And interbank exposures, intraday. For a intraday, I think for one day, if bank lends to a certain institution to other bank for a single day, this exposure norm is not applicable. Okay. So Boro, I think you must be knowing now that why all these are important, because these are questions nowadays being asked in lateral entry segments or in specialist officers. They don't ask silly questions nowadays. They ask in-depth questions that is related to the banking practice and it is related to the banking norms and regulations. So you must be knowing where this exposure norms implemented, where the exemption works, where the exemption doesn't work, and how it is to be reported, whom to be reported, etc. are crucial. I think those who have appeared in recent exams, many of you I think have appeared recent exams, may be knowing these detailed questions are required to be understood. If they will not go in depth, but understanding this will clear your ideas, and once you will be there in an interview, you can have a clear view on this. Okay. So borrowers to whom limits are authorized for food credit. So the loans that were extended for food credit are not categorized under large exposures. Why so? I must tell you that whenever we come across a term or come across something like this, we have to ask why this is happening. Okay, so that in nowhere in interview you will be failed, or nowhere you will have any lack or any sense of ignorance in terms of banking terms and banking rules. So yeah, yes, and food credit is one of the major components of economic growth of a country. Food credit is the loans that are extended to Food Corporation of India for storing, for buying and selling of food grains. Are you getting it? There, so Based on that, loans in India are categorized in two parts. One is food credit, another is non-food credit. Okay, so the loans that are extended to FCI for buying, for selling, for for conserving these food grains is called food credit. The percentage of food credit is very low in Indian market, but still it is an important component, and periodically RBI releases the data of food credit loans and non-food credit loans. Okay, so why it is important and why it is exempted from large exposures? So banks are encouraged to provide large exposures for food credit just to develop the agricultural sector of India. Okay, so the bank clearing activities related to qualifying central counterparties. So in bank clearing, they need some exposures. So this is also this is a day-to-day activity. Without this, without the exposure to bank to various clearing houses, to clearing for clearing of various instruments, it is important. Hence, it is also exempted from large exposures. And deposits maintained with NABARD on account of shortfall of achievement of target of priority sector lending. Okay, for priority sector lending, if a bank fails to maintain certain priority sector lending credit limit, then they go and invest in PSLC floated by NABARD. Okay, priority sector lending certificates. So the exposure to this in regard to the shortfall of any priority sector lending limit is not treated as large exposures. Are you getting it? This is it. So there are certain sectors which are exempted from large exposure. Okay, this is qualifying central counterparties. Counterparties means there are some institutions, those who are treated as qualified counterparties. That means to exposure to certain institutions, those who are valid institutions like CCIL, okay, Clearing Corporation of India, etc., Central Clearing Corporation of India. These banks have high exposures to them because some of the loans, some of the instruments go there for clearing. Okay, so if they are having some exposure to such organizations, those who deal with clearings are not treated as large exposures. Okay, banks have certain exposures to these clearing houses. Okay, let's move to the next slide. LEF definition. So now, what is the definition of LEF? Large exposure. We are talking about various large exposures, so which are going to be treated as large exposure in terms of bank. Okay, under the LEF, the sum of all exposures values of a bank to a counterparty or a group of connected counterparties is defined as a large exposure. It is equal or above 10% of the bank's eligible capital base. Any loan beyond 10% of bank's capital base is treated as large exposures. Are you getting it? There is nothing in it. Loan amount above 10% and above of the capital base of the bank is treated as large exposures. Okay, banks shall report their large exposures to Reserve Bank of India, Department of Banking Supervision. Where banks need to report all the large exposures? To banking supervisions. Okay, maybe in exams it is asked, they will not mention large exposures, they may mention that any exposure, any loan beyond 10% of bank's tier 1 capital should be reported to. Okay, should be reported to SEBI, should be reported to RBI, banking division, banking supervision, Department of Banking Supervision, etc. So you need to have a clear-cut idea. They may not use the exact term. They will provide a related term. So you need to have a clear-cut idea. Nowadays, questions are asked in such a manner they need an expert out of you. Okay, especially in banking specialist officer and banking lateral entry exam. So in these exams, that's why the focus is not on quant, math, English, etc. So the focus is always on banking knowledge. Without proper banking knowledge, you cannot qualify all these exams. Okay, no other shortcut is going to work. You need to gain knowledge on banking. Whatever work you have done doesn't matter. What knowledge you have is something that matters in interview, and they will sense. Believe me, the people, those who are going to sit in interview, they are going to sense. Don't worry if you cannot answer one or two questions. They will sense whether you have knowledge or not. The way you will pronounce things, the way you will use terms, that will define that what you know and what you don't know. If you may miss the exact guidelines, but if you can tell something like this, something related to it, and you can explain that, sorry, I missed this, but I know something about large exposures, etc. While facing interview, what was the question? Ask it again. I missed it. What they ask? You can ask it again. So there is no substitute to hard work, and you need to gain knowledge. Okay, so that's why I am taking out which are really necessary for you to know in banking. I will not include anything extra. Okay, previous performance in bank, who cares? Who will go and check? Performance does not matter. Okay, it is what you are going to tell that matters. It is what you are going to tell that matters. Even in your own bank, when you are going for a promotional exam, performance matters very less. So they are going to ask you what is your achievement in your previous organization. Make a story out of it. But where you cannot make any story is the facts, is the banking knowledge, is the professional knowledge. Here you cannot make any story. Make a story out of this. Tell my branch was under loss. I have derived so many profit. I have made this campaign, that campaign. Make a story before your interview. Prepare a beautiful story about the question that what is your achievement in last assignment. This is a question they are going to ask you. But here you can make a story and nobody is going to countercheck. All they have is 30 minutes or 20 minutes maximum with them to grill you. Okay, but yes, if you say that I have done exceptionally well, they will ask you more questions. They will think that if you have done so many hard work, then you may be having a knowledge. But nobody cares that. Nobody have any cognizance to the fact that if you will do hard work in banking, you will tend to forget the terms, the knowledge part. Okay, so this is it. You have to make a story out of this. You have to sell it. You have to package it, lie there, because performance in your interview is one kind of election campaign. Okay, if you cannot sell yourself, then nobody is going to buy you. This is also a kind of selling yourself. Tell something good about you. Okay, tell something good about you. Don't say that your miseries. Don't tell your miseries there. If you can tell good things about you, then be assured that you are going to be selected. Okay, don't tell bad things about yourself. Don't tell bad things or any unfortunate conditions of yours, or any unfortunate situation in your banking assignment, anything bad about your previous employer, anything bad about a private bank. Because if you are telling bad things about your previous employer, then you are going to lose. They may not take you. Okay, so let's go ahead. So banks shall report their large exposures to Reserve Bank of India's Department of Banking Supervision. Banks shall report all exempted exposures, 20 largest exposures included in the scope of application, irrespective of the value of these exposures relative to the bank's eligible capital base. So what banks need to report to this Department of Banking Supervision of RBI? All large exposures, 20 largest exposure, irrespective of their value. Okay, and all exempted exposures. Which exempted exposures I talk about in the last slide? The exposures to Government of India, the exposure to state governments, the exposure to Reserve Bank of India, the exposures to intraday interbank lending, intra-group lending, etc. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? So what is the latest limit of exposure for single counterparty? A counterparty or a borrower which is a single entity or one individual, the maximum exposure is 20%, okay, of tier 1 capital, and the bank can go maximum 5% if bank's board approves it. Are you getting it? For a single party, for a single counterparty or a single borrower, the maximum exposure can be 25% on the approval of board of directors, okay, but on the approval of bank board, okay, but in normal conditions it should not exceed 20%. For a group it must be 25%, not more than that, okay. The eligible capital base for the purpose is the tier 1 capital. Any breach in the above limit, large exposure limit, shall be under exceptional conditions beyond the control of bank, shall be reported to RBI immediately, and it needs to be rectified, revised immediately. Are you getting it? What is the exposure norm? Current exposure norm. Bank can provide maximum what percent of its tier 1 capital to a entity, to an entity? Answers please. What is the maximum exposure? 20%, right? Yes. If you will say maximum limit bank can provide to a single party, single counterparty, or a single borrower under the approval in exceptional conditions is 25%. Okay. And for group it is always 25%. Are you getting it? Are you all clear about large exposure limits? Should not I make any other class? Company is a single counterparty. If it is a group of companies, then it is a group of connected counterparties. Okay, the second term will be used. If it is one individual, if it is one group, okay, Tata group of companies, then it will be treated as group of connected counterparties. Okay, are you getting it? Exposure to NBFC and GSIBs. Okay, Tata group, there are various groups, group companies. Okay, so exposure of NBFCs. Bank exposure to single NBFC will be restricted to maximum 15% of tier 1 capital. Okay, for single group company 20%, on board approval it is 25%, for group companies it is 25%, and to NBFC it will be 15%. Why it is 15%? Because risks in funding to NBFC is bit higher, hence it is 15%. Banks exposure to group of connected NBFCs or group of connected parties having NBFCs in their group will be restricted to 25%. If that company has some group companies, group of NBFCs, then it will be limited to 25%. The large exposure limit applied to GSIBs, global systematically important banks, exposure to another GSIB is set at 15% of the eligible capital base. The limit of a loan to GSIB in India to a GSIB in India or overseas will be 20%. Okay, are you getting it? There are few banks in India, there are DSIBs, and in entire world there is a global systematically important banks. In India, which are the DSIBs? Domestically systemically important banks, HDFC, ICICI, and SBI. Yes. For GSIBs, there is a separate regulations. GSIBs exposure to GSIBs is 15%, and limit of non-GSIB in India to a GSIB in India or overseas is 20%. Getting it? These are some exceptional views, exceptional facts. These need to be reminded. When a bank becomes a GSIB, who declares a GSIB? GSIB is declared by Basel Committee and published annually by FSB, Financial Stability Board of Basel Committee of Banking Supervision. So when a bank becomes a GSB, it must apply the 15% exposure limit to another GSIB within 12 months from the date of becoming GSIB. Getting it? Getting it? I always mention the related terms so that it will be easier for you. And this is what we prepare. And I expect you to, because I work hard to find the real materials, the real facts. Because nowhere, in no crash course people are teaching such terms. They are just going with the related terms that were there in some credit management book, some PPTs they just refer. I just follow what is there in BC banking, in Basel regulations and in Reserve Bank of India. And in some I refer few other books also, but I make it completely concise, and what is necessary needs to be remembered. Okay, so let's revisit to MCLR, which is currently outdated, but we'll read it.